Here's my take on the Panasonic Leica Summilux f1.4 lens for Micro Four Thirds cameras. The first thing you notice about this lens is that for a Micro Four Thirds glass, it's big. Not big by DSLR standards, but more the size of a DSLR standard lens than most M43 lenses. A DSLR lens as fast as this would be a fair bit bigger though. It's not heavy at 200 grams or 7 ounces, but it does feel weighty and solidly built. It comes with a rectangular lens hood with bayonet fitting, and which near enough double to the length of the lens. In the bag, it actually takes as much space as the 12 to 35mm f2.8 zoom. But of course with that, the lens hood does fit in reverse. And if you compare it to the Panasonic f1.7 20mm, another viable choice for standard lens, well, by comparison the 20mm is tiny. Leaving aside the size of this lens, in use it has a lovely quality feel to it. The focusing ring, which turns continuously rather than having détentes at nearest and furthest ends, epitomises silky smoothness, and it's a pleasure to use. The focusing ring is the only control this lens has. It doesn't have Panasonic's optical image stabilization system. That's a shame, because it means that in practice the 12 to 35mm zoom, which does have OIS, is usable in lower light than the 25mm. Hand holding the 25mm in really low light gives you a 2-stop advantage over the 12 to 35, but I find the OIS on the zoom gives a 3 to 4 stops advantage. Of course, the 25mm at 1.4 will give you a nice shallow depth of field that the 2.8 can't possibly do. But hey, if you put the 25 on an Olympus body with the anti-shake operating on the sensor, you have the best of both worlds, shallow depth of field combined with an even better handheld slow shutter speed capability. Use an Olympus body and this lens combined with a 6400 ISO setting, and you could not only shoot a black cat in a coal cellar, you could shoot it jumping through hoops if you wanted to. I'm not in a position to give you technical information on the performance of this lens. From a fairly long period of ownership, I can only say that I'm completely happy with the sharpness of this piece of glass. It is in fact about as good as a lens can get. At f1.4 the edges drop off a bit, no surprise there, but stop down to f2 and beyond and edge to edge is razor sharp. One of the things I like about wide aperture lenses like this is that you can shoot at f2.8 or 4 and know they are performing at their best. In this case, its best must be challenging or exceeding the resolving power of the sensor. Chromatic aberration, or the purple fringing that you can get in some high contrast edge or frame situations, is not significant. Panasonic camera bodies correct this in software anyway, but even on Olympus bodies it's not significant and easily corrected manually anyway, though I doubt you'd need to bother. Distortion bowing is non-existent for practical purposes. The only obvious competitor to this lens is the Panasonic 20mm f1.7, which in the UK costs about £279 as opposed to £439. In other words, much cheaper. They're very different lenses though, as you can see, the 20mm being a pancake design and a half a stop slower. The 20mm doesn't have OIS, by the way. 25mm at 200 grams or 7 ounces is twice the weight of the pancake lens and twice the length too. The focal lengths don't on paper differ that much, but in practice the 20mm focal length, being slightly wide angle, feels a bit like a 35mm lens on a 35mm camera, an excellent general purpose lens for street photography or what have you. But hey, if a standard lens was good enough for Henri Cartier-Bresson, it should be good enough for me, right? Here are examples of the limited depth of field you can get with this f1.4 lens. Here's a portrait at f4, much as you would get with a kit zoom. The kit zoom might not be so sharp, by the way. The background is a little fussy. Here's f2.8, background a bit fussy still. Here's f2, starting to look good. Here's wide open f1.4, and all the emphasis is on the subject. Of course, if you wanted to relate the subject to the background, the f4 shot would be better. If large depth of field is a disadvantage sometimes, it is equally an advantage at others. Let's get closer. Here's f3.5, and here's f1.4. This is why you might want this lens. Razor sharp, creamy smooth out of focus area. Good enough to eat, in fact. My take on this Panasonic Leica 25mm f1.4 is that it is superb. It is worth every penny of the asking price. If you like this focal length and value performance above all, this lens is for you. If I sound unconvinced, it's because I find myself using the 20mm all the time and the 25mm rarely. The 20mm is not as sharp, but it's still more than sharp enough. It's tiny and enables you to slip an Olympus pen or a Panasonic GF into a pocket, something you certainly can't do with the 25mm on board. For me, the 20mm coupled with Olympus's fabulous little 45mm f1.8 makes more sense. Together they weigh little more and cost little more than the 25mm. They are maybe not such stellar performers, but unless you're an inveterate pixel peeper, you'll notice little difference in give and take use. So, I recommend this lens unreservedly to those who really want a top quality, ultra fast standard lens. You won't be disappointed. I just recommend that you give pause while you consider if this lens really fits in with the photographic ethos which made you buy Micro Four Thirds in the first place. Thanks for watching.